Here we are again this morning, my brothers and sisters. Those of you who have tuned in to PH Tidbits from the Word. We are looking in the book of Ecclesiastes. One of the wisest men that ever lived in this period of time wrote this book. When he asked God for wisdom, he failed to ask God for spiritual wisdom on top of the wisdom that he asked for. And therefore he lacked, for his own personal life, some spiritual things that were before him. They were in the repertoire of his wisdom, but he failed to use them for being cumbered about by building and working and amassing great wealth and great things. Verse 24 of chapter 2, it said, "There is nothing better for a man than he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw that was from the hand of God." Now labor was a thing that God made. God said that if a man doesn't work, he shouldn't eat. So labor was a way God made for a man to provide for himself and his family. And there are several scriptures in the Bible that talk about you partaking from the labor that you do, not only that it would satisfy you, but that you could take care of the churches of God, the churches that God has, by giving to that local church your tithe, which is 10% of every single penny goes through your hand. 10% goes in a tithing envelope. And then on top of that, mission money, work money, money to keep things going. And there's a little thing on our particular tithing envelope. I got my tracts in my pocket, but I haven't got my tithing envelopes in my jacket for next week. But that tithing envelope has a place on it that says other. You can put some money in that other and leave it up to the secretary or whoever it is, the treasurer or whoever it is, to put that other a place where it's needed. And there are places in the church where other is needed. And then I have personally taken my outside giving, like for instance the WAK radio station, and I funnel it through the church and let the church give it down there. I don't send it down there. I funnel it through the church. I'm a firm believer that God said to run everything through the church. Run it through the church. Everything. If you're going to give to Tom, Dick, or Harry, you need to run it through the benevolence fund at the church. And it come from the church to those people, that the church may be the thing that grows, that the church may be the thing, the preeminence that's brought up. Not you, but the church. And you are not in the picture. After you put your money in, it is no longer has anything to do with you. Then it's the leaders of the church's money to handle. Now, look at verse 25. "For who can eat, or who else can hasten hereunto more than I?" Now, here's a man. Do you know that when Solomon sat down to eat, that he had 900 concubines and 300 wives that sat down to eat? That's 1,100, and every one of those concubines had maidens, had servants, had masters, had all kinds. So here's a couple thousand people sitting down 3 times a day to eat just in that area. Then he had like 1,500 horses and chariots, and all of those men sat down and ate, all at this man's table. This man fed the whole nation. You want to know the truth? He fed more than one nation, and other nations saw that they could eat free if they took their wives over there, or their women over there, and married them to Solomon. That's why he had 900 wives. People brought them in. They brought them in every day like flies and said, "Hey, I want you to marry my daughter." So he marries a man's daughter, and then he takes that man's kingdom in his realm. You better not come against that kingdom, because when you do, you're coming against Solomon, excuse me. So therefore, he ends up with all of these women. But down at the end of his life, he said, verse 26, "For God giveth to a man that is good in his sight wisdom and knowledge and joy." I love that. That's half of the verse. He gives to a man wisdom, knowledge, and joy. Wow. Man, if a man could have wisdom and knowledge, and if he didn't have joy, his wisdom and knowledge is not pleasant. Because the other half of this verse says this. The other half of verse 26 says, wisdom and joy. "But to a sinner he giveth travail, to gather and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before God. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit." Vanity and vexation of spirit is to pile up things for your personal self. I got news for you. I have friends leaving here on the heavenly train regular lately, and there's not one of them. I haven't seen not one of them take anything with them yet. I hadn't seen not the first one take anything that I could see with them. I know some of them took a lot with them, because they left with it in their heart and in their life, and so they took that with them. And my daddy went on to heaven here in 97, and he sent ahead, my daddy sent ahead his reward up there when he went on to heaven. And he in his epitaph, he said, "Hey, don't fret for me, because God's ready for me. He sent after me, and I'm ready to go. And I'm going to answer his call," he said, "and head on up there." And my daddy sent ahead of himself enough stuff to have him a mansion up there. If what we send up there is building our mansion, have you got a mansion? How big is your mansion? Has God just laid the foundation and you haven't sent him anything to build on, to build with? You need to send it to him. I'm rambling today, just rambling on, but I'm rambling on in the Bible. I go to bed at night with Christian music on, with preaching. I wake up every hour or so, and I flick the tape over or put another one in. I listened to some real good preaching this morning early, and the man was saying, what you sow, you reap. Sowing sometimes takes a long time. You can go by a piece of land that's all woods, trees, and shrubs, and say, "I would love to have a garden in that spot." You can do it, but you got to cut the trees down and pluck the roots up. You got to cultivate the land. You got to make it ready, and then you got to plant it. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but this life is not supposed to be the easiest thing in the world to do. It takes work to do right. It takes work to take a patch of woods. It takes work and vision and praying and asking and seeking the face of the Lord to see the piece of property we're on over there right now at the church where I am. I saw it before we touched it. And everybody said, "You ain't going to build a church in that place. That's a hill, goes way down. You can't build in there. That's not a good, that's a bad choice." I got news for you. There's several $100,000 worth of buildings on it right now being used on a daily basis every day that are paid for. The parking lot is paid for. We have a good water runoff on that hill. The water runs off it. But that's beside the point. The buildings are level. They don't get water in them. Everything will work good. A man had a vision. He prayed about it. He went out there. He got a tractor. He started clearing, digging. And here it is. It's here today. And that's the fruition of a vision. What is your vision today? Is your vision to do something in the name of the Lord? Is your vision to do something in God? Is your vision to leave something standing when you leave here to go to your eternal abode? You're going to do it through faith, through stability, through prayer. Keep on keeping on. I don't care where you are. I don't care what church you're in. I don't care what work you're in. Just make sure you're being used of God, and keep your prayers in front of you. And pray for those around you. Pray for those that you've left behind. And you that are left behind, pray for those who have gone forward. And we will all be one big, happy Christian family. This Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.